To security matters, the Nigeria Union of Journalists has called for the release of 2 journalists and their families who were abducted by bandits on Saturday in Kaduna State. Abdulgafar Alabelewe of The Nation and AbdulRaheem Abdu of the Blueprint newspaper, together with their spouses and children, were kidnapped by bandits on Saturday night after they broke into the Dahjonu community in Millennium City, Chikun Local Government Area of Kaduna State. The NUJ, in a statement on Monday signed by Secretary General Achike Chude, condemned the abductions and urged security agencies to leave no stone unturned in the pursuit of the kidnappers and to ensure the safe recovery of the victims. Achike Chude, Secretary General, Nigeria Union of Journalists, now joins us on the news. Achike, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, always.
Is there any positive update that you can share on this matter?
No, unfortunately, it is early days yet. And, I think, when this kind of thing happens, investigations begin, and then the authorities or whoever is in charge of this begin to look for ways to establish a contact with the people that have committed this crime. So right now we know that it's not an easy period for the families. It's also not an easy period for members of the NUJ family, especially from Kaduna State, who also did a press release, at least in terms of the state council of Kaduna NUJ. And so everybody is waiting with feeling of hope, and of course they're also afraid. But we are not aware at this particular point in time that any reasonable contact has been established with the people who have done this. Sometimes it takes a bit of time.
Okay, I take it you are unaware of the statement. I read in one of the dailies that the police confirmed one of the wives was released because she had ill health. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, that had happened before now. So it's not news. It's not any new information. That's why I didn't talk about it, because that happened at the time that this, action took place by the kidnappers. Obviously, they had wanted to take the daughter of one of the journalists, and then, of course, the mother was begging and pleading that she has been ill for quite some time. That's the daughter. So reluctantly, they left her. And then they now tried to take this other woman that you have talked about, one of the wives of the journalist. And then again, perhaps I think they were also convinced that the woman was not telling lies, that she was actually in a bad shape health-wise. And then so she was also allowed to go. Eventually, and so this is what we have now.
Okay.
But after the action took place, and they moved into the forest, from what the woman was saying, she was dropped in the forest, and then a Fulani Okada rider brought her back to the village. That's how she was able to narrate her own side of the story. And so everyone, they now moved the others into the forest, into the bush.
Okay.
And so this is, at least for now, this is what we know.
While we're hoping and praying for the immediate release, it's no longer immediate because it's been 2 days, there are concerns that this is not the first incident of journalists being kidnapped this year alone. What worries you the most about this development, especially as families are now also being made victims?
Yeah, well, again, the issue of violence and insecurity in this country is not just about the journalists. And so if from our press release, we're talking about the general state of insecurity in this country, which, is afflicting everybody, regardless of your profession, regardless of the position that you are in. We are all in danger, especially in places that are prone to insecurity, in parts of the north, northeast, northwest, southeast, even parts of the southwest. So one could say to a very large extent that no part of this country is actually secure from either kidnappers or some levels of violence. some more so than others. But the reality is that journalists have come increasingly under all manners of attacks, sometimes attacks by state actors or non-state actors in this instance. And we feel, I don't want to believe that there is a pattern. I don't want to believe that the journalists were actually singled out because they were journalists, if that by the bandits themselves. So if that is the case, then it is much more ominous. What we are seeing is much more, ominous. So I want to see this particular incidents as random, that they happened to kidnap people who were journalists. Perhaps they were also acting, from information from members of the security of the community in those places, because sometimes they tend to have people from within, who are also working with this, non-violent, non-state actors. So we don't exactly know. But the reality is that, yeah.
In the interest of time, quickly, in 30 seconds, if you can, advice to journalists who are in this volatile area on maybe extra security measures that they can take to protect themselves, since it seems it's our personal businesses these days.
Yeah, they must be situationally aware. There's no doubt about that. And then again, I know that it is difficult to move homes, especially when you have built your own home in the outskirts. Outskirts are usually much more dangerous because the bandits tend to have easy access to houses within the outskirts of cities. And so if some of these journalists have the capacity to move into, the metropolis in some of these cities, I think it is much, much better, much more safer for a lot of them.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.